Hello and welcome to the Missed Q. I'm your host, Ricky. With me today is my co-host, Heidi.
Hello.
And we have a couple of special guests on. We have Ivan Gomez and Nathaniel Gomez.
Yo.
Hi.
It's a father-son duo that does the local theater here in town. And actually, Nathaniel's been involved with the local theater for years before Ivan got involved. So first of all, let's talk about Nathaniel. How old are you right now?
I'm 12.
You're 12, okay. And what age did you get involved? First show.
9.
9. His dad's holding up the fingers to let him know.
Thank you, Ivan.
Okay, so you were 9. So you've been in it for 3 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I feel like you've been in it for so much longer. So one of your first shows must have been A Christmas Carol that we did.
Yeah, it was Lion King.
Lion King.
Lion
yeah,
King,
that's the first time I
okay.
remember you was Lion King.
Wow. Okay, so what brought you to that first audition?
So my mom and Allie, they used to work together at Starline. It was Allie that told my mom about the theater. Then my mom told me about it. Then I was like no at first, but then I was like I just wung it and did it.
Took a little convincing.
Yeah.
Nice. And obviously you've been doing it for 3 years, so you must be happy with that decision.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Lion King Jr. was the first one. So what part did you get?
I got the cheetah and a hyena.
Like that. So you had fun, obviously. So what was it like? Did you know you had to sing at your audition, or what? Did you know anything about the process?
Allie did tell my mom that I did have to sing for an audition, but my mom recorded me and sent it to whoever was directing that show.
So this was like when COVID was kind of slowing down a little bit. And
Okay.
That's right.
having recordings of the auditions.
Oh, okay.
So you
He
just
was-
sent in a... That's right.
Yeah,
Actually,
so he was, like,
your
one of the
audition was
last
on
ones.
tape, too.
Yeah,
Bailey's
this
was.
is post-COVID. Grace
Yes.
Arts was doing a lot of video auditions.
That's right.
Well, cool. What'd you sing?
I think I sung
A Million Dreams.
A Million Dreams, yeah.
Aw, Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
That's a great
Okay.
movie, and it's a great song to choose. So how did that go?
It went pretty good.
We did a couple takes.
Yeah.
And we were like,
So that's obviously a lot less intimidating than would you have rather stood in front of the people in the room, or was the tape better?
I would rather stand in front of the people in the room.
Really? Not a lot of people would say that.
you're crazy.
You
My
are
room was
crazy.
a little bit messy.
Okay. Interesting take on that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
eventually your dad got involved in theater. So obviously, Ivan, you were very supportive of Nathaniel throughout the theater. When the missus basically brought up theater, saying, "Oh, maybe you should get into it," what were your thoughts?
About him getting into it?
Yes.
Oh, at first I wasn't on board at all. But then it goes back to like the way I was brought up. You know, like dance wasn't the thing.
There's a stigma connected
so
with
like-
theater that, you
So
know.
I was brought up in an old traditional Mexican style family. So like the guy was always at work, or you know what I mean. So
Right, not singing and
stuff that-
dancing.
yeah, exactly. So that's not something a guy would normally do. After a while, you know, I was like, you know, what am I doing? You know, I'm supposed to be the change here. So I was like, you know what? Go ahead, dude. Like it started off with ballet. I wasn't on board with it at all. And then I remember reading somewhere that said, "Be the dad that you wanted growing up." And
Wow.
I
That's
was
a
like,
powerful one.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of self-reflecting, you know, and then so I told him, I said, you know what, let's do it. But the only thing I asked was that you give it 110%, and we agreed, and we've been doing it ever since.
I mean, I've done some
love-
shows with him. I don't know that he gives 110%, but just kidding.
Rats.
No, I've always been impressed with Nathaniel and seeing him from show to show get better and better.
Yeah.
But you've been inspired within this last year, within this last 6 months, really, to be on stage yourself. You were in the Heights.
Yep, the first one.
And why did you decide to join our theater, Ivan?
So, you know, obviously, I love music, right? So music has been with me ever since I can remember. And I love a good story, you know, and theater brings both. When the movie In the Heights came out, we watched it, and I was like, yo, this movie's cool. Like, I had no idea it was a Broadway. I had no idea, you know, I still don't know much about Broadway, but
You just enjoyed the movie and the story for what it was.
The story, the music, everything. And then I said it out loud. I was like, if they ever make this a show at Grace Arts, like, I'm auditioning.
Wow.
Well,
So him and my wife were like, oh, okay, yeah. And then
So when they announced it, we were like,
they
oh,
announced it at-
man.
they announced it at one of the workshops. And so my wife like turns over to me You ever seen that meme where Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal are sitting?
Oh yeah.
That's the way my wife turned and looked at me, and she's like, "You can do it." I was like, "Yeah."
I mean, you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, it was still, a conflicting battle with myself. Like, I'm going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. Oh, I'm going to do it. And then...
Were you afraid about what other people might like, maybe at work or whatever?
No, I didn't. No, I don't. That doesn't faze me at all. Like, even when, when I got the part, the track was playing all the time at work.
So was it more of like the Underday? It's a huge commitment, time-wise, and all of
yeah,
that. So
it was really work and then the balance of everything. But I mean,
yeah, it's
want it
tough to
bad
have a
enough.
work-life balance as it is, but to add theater in the mix,
yeah,
it throws everything off balance.
yeah. So you were actually the final. You should go ahead and do it.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
we were at it was after your dad's celebration of life. We were at the restaurant,
Yes.
and he's all, so I brought it up to you, and you're like, yeah, you should totally do it. And you even said, I showed you my Spotify. It showed you that the Piragua song was like my number one
Yeah.
played out of everything I played. And you're like, oh, wow, you really are committed. Yeah, you should totally do it.
Yeah. So your favorite song on that was the Paragua guy.
Yes, it was. And that
But-
was actually the part that I wanted.
So, and you were just like new timer coming in. You were like, I just want the Paragua guy. I mean,
It's in the
you're
bag.
probably like, I'll take anybody, whatever. And who did you end up getting?
I ended up getting Kevin Rosario, which is Nina's dad.
Yep. He's one of those woodwork people.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, honestly, I think you were very impressive in that. First of all, you look damn good in a suit.
Thanks.
I think any guy who can look good in a suit with his hands in his pockets and look commanding, that's the kind of guy that role calls for. So I think the theater scored not only with you coming for that show, but you've been in several shows since then.
Yeah. See,
So
now we have you.
now they
Told
have
you you're not getting away.
And so it's actually so like before I even thought about doing this, Chris Rydell would always try to get me.
Yeah, he's a
"Oh,
pusher."
When are you gonna audition for the next one? And I'm like, nah, I'm not. It's not for me. And then he's like, yeah, don't do it, because if you do it, then that's it.
You're in.
You're not.
Once you're in.
Yeah.
And then Lee White told me the same thing.
Yeah, those
See?
guys. Misery loves company.
Yeah. Like, join us.
Yeah. I think for me, I was in theater with my dad because of my dad and with my dad for a long time. I think it's really special having that connection and having these memories that you're building together. Because even thinking about my other siblings, like none of them have the connection that I have with my dad because of the shows we did and
Right.
not only acting on stage, but talking about the shows, talking about character development and things like that. Just it's a cool way to bond if you're both into it. So that's why I love this episode, because we're representing that within you guys. My son is 8 and he's doing shows with me now. Heidi does shows with Bailey.
She's done a couple shows.
She's done a couple of shows. Our listeners know all about Bailey.
Yeah.
So I just think it's great. You're a great addition to it. Nathaniel has been there for a while, but I'd say within the last several shows, High School Musical is where I really took notice of
for
your
sure.
ability, which we've talked on a couple episodes about High School Musical. I just feel like you suddenly came out of a shell that you've been in. So how was that? Was that kind of a breakout role for you as far as getting out of your shell?
Yeah, it was
What role did you play in High School Musical?
Zeke.
Zeke. What's been your favorite show that you've done so far?
So far, it was Oliver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a really fun one. The only reason I liked it was I got to eat.
Get to eat on
Oh,
stage.
there's nothing like eating on stage.
It is fun.
Oh,
You are your father's son.
So that was why it was your favorite, because you got to eat on stage.
is that the only
Okay.
time you ever gotten to eat on stage?
Yeah.
What did you get to eat?
I got to eat muffins.
Muffins.
Oh, yes.
That must be
remember.
nice. I got to eat candy one time on stage, as chocolate candies, and I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't like coconut, and they were filled with coconut. You're 12, so you've got several more shows to do before you graduate. Are there any shows that you really want to do? Because now you're growing into more than just ensemble and stuff like that. You've really worked on your craft, taken voice lessons, things like that. You've really done your homework as far as growing as a performer. So now that you've basically expanded your own horizons, is there anything you're looking forward to
Well, yeah, I really want them to do the SpongeBob the musical.
Okay. I'm surprised nobody's brought that up really
Yeah.
on this show. Like what part? Just in general? Or?
Yeah, I would really like to be SpongeBob because I did do that audition song for the show that I'm in, which is Madagascar.
Yeah. So you're in the workshop right now
Yeah.
at Grace Arts Live, and the cast list just went up. You're doing Madagascar Junior workshop number 2. What
You
role
are
did-
playing.
Alex the Lion.
There.
Almost forgot.
Yes, you are Alex.
Alex the Lion. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
That's a big role.
It is a big role.
Yeah.
I'm really
That's-
happy.
He's the man.
It's gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I thought when I was watching the show the first time. I'm like, man, this is heavy dialogue
Yeah.
for a junior show. And then I think Jackie on that episode talked about how it was actually not like some condensed version of it. It was,
No, it's not a shorter like kids show that we usually do in a workshop. It's a full junior,
yes, it is the full
a
junior.
much longer show.
So you have all the dialogue and stuff. So it is a huge undertaking. But so what's been your favorite role that you've seen Nathaniel in?
My favorite role that he's been in, I'd probably have to say Seussical.
Seussical.
He came out as the the turtle judge.
Yertle,
yeah.
turtle.
Yertle.
One night I decided to come out and like throw up my hammer, like spin it, and I winked at the audience with it. So
Dude,
funny.
that was like the most proudest moment because I was like, when he
Yes.
let go of the hammer, I held my breath because I was like, he's gonna drop it,
Oh yeah.
and it flips, and he catches it, and he points it at the crowd, and he throws a wink, and I was like, I lost it.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Proud dad moment.
Awesome.
So-
That's like the best entrance I think I've ever seen him do.
That is my favorite thing about Nathaniel in shows. He tends to he takes his own little spin on things, and he adds in just that little bit.
Get a little more courageous with it.
He's
awesome.
yeah. In High School Musical, he really started that started to show.
Yeah, yep.
It's like, oh, that's Nathaniel. He added that bit.
So Ivan referenced Game of Thrones when he was talking about the theater, and I'm like, you said you were the Jon Snow of our theater.
So I consider myself the Jon Snow of Grace Arts because I know nothing. Today I started my first voice lesson, and I started, what was this, third Monday? Tap. I started tap.
Oh yeah, we've done that for 3 Mondays now.
This is gonna be my third Monday.
man, you're really venturing into all of it.
Yeah.
You're committed. You're committed. Well, you have to be a good example.
And then on July 9th, I'm taking a jazz class.
Yeah, they added dads into that class
Dads.
just for Ivan.
Just for
Really?
me. I wouldn't say I pestered Lauren into doing it.
You
but
did.
I strongly encouraged to add dads into the Hot Moms class because dads need something to do too. And don't worry, Lauren, I'll be there. So yeah, like me and Bill were joke. I'm pretty sure we were joking about it at first, but then it was like, no, yeah, like what the heck? Where are the dads at? And,
Exactly.
so I took it upon myself, and I started asking other dads, be like, hey, what are you doing July 9th, bud? And so I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a bunch of dads in there if everyone shows up.
That's awesome.
I'm excited. I'm showing up for sure.
That's awesome. Well, and the other thing is that it's a way to bond with your kid, because if they're involved in theater and they love it, and if you're wanting to spend more time with your kid, it's like, and it doesn't have to be just theater. It could be any activity. You always join in their activity sometimes to get on that level. And theater obviously is more than just picking up disc golfing or something. It's it's committing a whole month of your life, but
It's a lot of time.
it's a definite life-changing experience in the relationship. How many shows have you guys done together? So you did In the Heights.
In the Heights, then
Nathaniel, you were in that?
no.
No. Nathaniel wasn't in that.
Then we did Elf.
And then Elf.
That's right. You were an
He was
elf.
with me in Elf.
So that was your first time on stage together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were at Macy's. We
In Macy's,
were
yeah.
in Macy's, and you played my son, so we're just arm in arm at Macy's waiting in line to see Santa.
Oh wait, weren't we married in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You were my son. I had played a few parts, but yes, we were a family in that scene.
And
That's
so like
great.
the thing
That's
was
right.
like there was like a video game and that we were wanting to buy, and we're like, yeah, let's get it.
we had a whole little bit.
Oh,
also.
wow. See, I
Yeah.
love that.
I was like, no, you can't have it.
No, yeah.
Yeah. You got to create those
violent.
little bits,
It was scary.
That's what makes it real.
Yes.
It gave the scariest stare ever.
Wow. So Elf, and then you did Peter Pan.
Peter
was
Pan
after.
together.
The Pirates.
Jesus Christ Superstar,
Jesus
you
Christ
were in though.
Superstar. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
We were both in it, but we weren't.
Really
We played
interesting.
opposites actually because he was one of those little puny Roman.
That's right.
soldiers.
You were
oh,
a
that's
soldier.
right.
Yeah.
Quite
And,
quite the threatening Roman soldier
yeah.
Nathaniel
Right.
was.
And so we had a little bit where we would stare off from each other, and then I'd focus my attention on Ian. He was the other one next to him. And
Yeah.
that was fun. We were dancing next to each other, and I'd always catch him like looking back to see if I was doing it right.
And he
I
wasn't.
was too focused looking at him, and so it was fun. And then Peter Pan.
And then
was
Peter
actually-
Pan.
Yeah, Peter Pan.
You guys were
Pan
both
was
pirates.
fun.
Yeah, that was really fun.
And it's so funny because I feel like you guys were both pirates, but Nathaniel outshined you.
Oh, yeah.
Just his fake mustache alone outshined you.
I still
That's
have it.
Nathaniel he kept it. That's awesome.
still trying to find
Nathaniel
it.
had this huge mustache, the type that like covers your lips, your whole mouth, like it hangs down so
He
far.
looked like the Pringles man.
Dude,
Yes.
you looked so hilarious, and I loved it. It just added so much to that character. I don't even know what you look like.
Wow.
An old homeless Aladdin, I think. I think someone said that.
I loved
Aladdin,
that. I
yeah.
loved that version of Peter Pan though, just because of the age difference of all the pirates. You had
Yes.
literally all
Yeah.
sorts of different age groups from that. As far as being a fan of the theater, obviously you weren't before you got into this.
Correct.
Like, didn't listen to any
Nope,
cast albums or
nothing.
anything like that.
I think it started with my niece. She was like in love with Hamilton,
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
and I couldn't at first, and then like I said, the whole, trying to be more involved kind of thing. So I gave it a shot, and I was
Hamilton.
like, yeah, Hamilton. No,
Dude, I'm
sitting there,
surprised, but
we're all sitting there in the living room, and I'm like, catch myself doing this.
that's because they're like
It's
dropping
good.
like
Okay.
Pac references, and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is like BIG status.
Yeah, and it was pretty good. And then from there, it was just Hamilton for like the longest time. And then
You're like, I like musicals.
yeah,
Hamilton.
What have you listened to things since then? Have you been more intrigued and
so
more?
from I think it was your guys' second episode with Peyton and Russell, you'd mentioned something about you needing a list.
Oh yes.
So I started.
He
the
made a
list,
list.
Wow.
Yes.
Influencing our listeners.
and it's a pretty long list.
I keep adding to
Well,
it.
you
Slowly.
I
slowly.
imagine there's a lot of ignorance there as far as shows.
And yeah,
you have there's a lot that you haven't heard, which I think is exciting because there's so many good shows that you haven't heard that I think you'll really enjoy. So
Yeah.
welcome to that
Oh, yeah.
journey.
I love that
Yeah,
every
that's-
show that Bailey or I tell him to listen to, he does.
Yeah,
Sends me a screenshot. It's like, look, I'm listening. I like it.
Nice.
And I know he does.
I can't do anything without music. Like I'm driving, there's music. I'm in the shower, there's music. I'm cooking, there's music. All the time there's music. And so while I'm working, I either got my headphones or I got a work speaker that we use. And like I'll go through shows like that. Like
Yeah.
with your guys' podcast, I was doing a huge RV garage, and the podcast only lasted like half of the RV garage. And I was like, well, guess I'll just listen to music now. And so
We can only put out so much content
Sorry,
for you.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Wow. So that's cool. Now musicals help you get through your day a little bit. So
Yeah.
you have time to venture into new territory and listen to the recommendations that Heidi sends you.
yeah. Well,
Not
it's not
just me,
Heidi.
but
It's,
yeah.
I ask Bailey, I'll ask Sam, I'll ask Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't asked any of the guys yet, but I plan on getting there once
Well,
I get through
yeah.
whatever I got.
He's got quite a lot on
It's-
that
it's
list.
quite a bit.
What are you listening to right now?
Right now, I'm listening to Anastasia right now, again.
Good choice.
Okay.
Little Birdie said that's the one of the upcoming.
Potentially one of the upcoming
Shows.
fall
So-
shows at Grace Arts Live. So
So I'm trying to get.
nothing's official. I don't want it to be sourced. But okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, and I really respect that, doing the research beforehand. What about you? What kind of shows do you listen to? Shows like
Yeah, I listen to shows a lot. Well, yeah, but I did stop listening to SpongeBob recently because I've listened to those like 20 times. But
It's a lot.
and then what was it? My Heart Says Go.
Yes. Oh, who told you to listen to that?
This
Your
one.
dad. And who told you to listen to that?
Heidi and Bailey did.
I've heard good things about My Heart Says Go.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So there's other musicals like the jukebox musicals. Are you a fan of those?
So I don't think I have any of those on my list.
It's okay. I have some suggestions. I'll talk later.
But I did hear Allie talking about them on her episode.
Yeah.
And she enjoys it. So,
Well, for a non-musical theater person, I think jukebox musicals are make more sense. You know,
It's a good way to get into them.
yes.
You already know the music.
If it's well done, and that's the
Right.
thing. Heidi will be able to suggest like actually good.
I have a
ones.
few. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh man, there's some shows like Forever Plaid. I think is such a good one. It's about a quartet. I'm not going to get into it.
There could be a
But-
whole episode on.
Hey, but if you like oldies,
Yeah.
that's the way to go. Even though you don't have too much experience, our show is called
The Missed Cue.
to missed cue. Nathaniel
So-
goes first, though.
So Nathaniel, have you ever missed a cue?
Well, not really, but I missed a line.
Okay.
My second show, The Little Mermaid.
Oh.
I was Grimsby. I can't remember what line it was, but we stood there for like almost 5 minutes, and no one helped me out. It was so funny.
It was funny at the time.
No.
Now it's funny.
Yeah,
So
It's
that,
never
that is
funny at the
missing
time.
a line is missing a cue, essentially.
yeah.
yes.
I can't remember if I had.
So maybe somebody
one
missed
jumped-
their cue because of your line.
Right.
Wow.
So perhaps you caused someone else to miss a cue.
probably.
Wow. Well, everything stood still for 5
Wow.
minutes, man. This is the worst.
It was rough.
This is the roughest one we've heard so far.
Yeah.
It felt like 5 minutes.
Well, it feels like a lifetime
It's-
when that happens.
Yeah,
And then sitting in the audience, it's like, oh no.
And no one jumped in and
nothing.
saved you?
No.
yeah. No
Nobody-
one moved. Like we
nobody
just
moved.
stood there.
It's like when like the screen is buffering. That's what it looked like.
That darn rainbow wheel. You're like, come on.
Yes.
You got this.
And then the worst part too was like once he realized his line, he's like, oh, yeah, he was.
Oh, so it
he
just
was-
it
yeah.
just paused until you came up with your line.
Yeah.
No one
No
went
one
in.
helped.
No one
No one.
jumped
No one.
in.
It was just silence.
Yep.
Well, you learned your lesson.
Wow. Okay.
I haven't dropped the line since.
Yeah, that'll do
Wow.
it. Oh, scarred for life. But hey,
Okay. Ivan, have you ever missed a cue?
I have a lot actually.
Oh.
Dress rehearsal counts, right? Is that what we said?
I mean-
it depends
If
on who you're
that's the
asking.
it was like the
If you're asking production side, then yes, you missed a cue.
Yeah.
it was first dress rehearsal. So I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. Lee White used to be my teacher back in middle school, right? And I know, right? My age is showing, but so is his. Anyways, so I'm backstage and I'm getting ready to go on for my scene, and it's everyone's like in the dining area and they're waiting for me to show up, but they have dialogue, and Lee sees how nervous I am, so I'm assuming he took it, as a teacher moment, and he started like coaching me, telling me,
gosh.
hey, it's all right, kind of thing.
When he already broke a rule, don't distract an actor during a
So-
performance.
And this is during In the Heights?
And
So you're in your first show.
was this the scene where you're about to come on and say, "I'm selling the business"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm like, my line is like, oh, traffic was bumper to bumper, right? So I'm listening to him, I'm taking it in, because, respect, he's my teacher, In the back, I hear Betsy, tengo hambre. And in my head, I'm like, that's not one of the lines.
Oh.
And then it triggered. I was like, oh, I need to get on stage. And then, but at that time that I realized it, his headset goes off. And he's like, yeah, he's right here. And then I start to move. And then he's like, oh.
And would you have
Yeah.
missed that if Lee hadn't been coaching
Distracting
you?
you.
In all honesty, I would have gone out when I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And so after that, I was like, don't talk to me before I get on stage.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel
but
bad.
it was my first show. And so, like I said, he was in teacher mode, so I can't really blame him too much. But that's,
Yeah,
neither here nor there, I guess.
you can blame him,
Come on.
and we're gonna.
Yeah.
That's that's a big no.
Yeah. Distracting an actor
Yeah.
backstage.
sorry.
It's easy to do.
Gosh,
So, Nathaniel, did you ever fall victim to someone else's missed cue? Maybe in a recent show?
Yeah. It was in
High School
Musical. It was during the show, and and so Ian was late. I don't know what he was doing, but he was just standing there. He was talking to Bailey and Ava,
Oh.
Shots fired.
and but he was like completely late. So I can't even remember what Harrison said, but he said yo doggy, where you at, or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
we just then he just ran on.
Well, that just goes to show that you and Harrison are a couple of the up and comers, with the skills to cover a scene or do whatever is necessary. Yeah. Obviously, you had your trauma from before, so you know how to cover now.
You got to say something, anything. You have to say something.
Better than nothing.
To say.
Oh, gosh, because that was probably 5 seconds, but it felt like 5 minutes.
Feels like, yeah.
So, again, in the Heights, but this was the show. My counterpart, my wife in the show, she got confused on what side of the stage she needed to be on. This was like at the end. It's where Kevin Rosario has sold the business already, and he's taken the sign off the building. So I'm on the side where we're supposed to be, and I'm like looking around, and I'm like, where is she? And then I see her on the other side of the stage, and she's like, oh no, like, panic.
You realize you're on the wrong side.
And then, but it was like too late. Like I had to come out. Like I waited as long as I could. And then, so I come out, and we're both supposed to take the sign down together, but I ended up just doing it by myself. But I came out, and I waited, and I nonchalantly kind of looked back to see if she was going to make it or not. And I was like, she's not going to make it. So I took it down, and I walked across.
I wonder if she decided between going on late or not at all.
Yeah.
She must have decided just not.
She didn't. Yeah, she didn't. But then then there was more confusion, because confusion from before. But somehow we ended up making it work, and we ended up where we're supposed to be at the end, which is
that's theater, man.
Right?
Yeah, that's live theater.
And then so it worked out. I don't think anybody else knew really, other than the people in the show. That's probably didn't have any clue.
Was it easy enough to take it down by yourself?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty light.
Yeah, so it was more symbolic.
Yeah.
You guys,
right.
But wow. Well, thank God it wasn't too heavy, or awkward to take down. That would have been weird.
Just dragging it off stage.
Yeah. Tom comes out with a headset. Take it down. You're just very dedicated to the craft already, and you're just so new to it still, which I love that. I don't know if that's because maybe you're just the type of person that gives 110% to anything you do. Maybe you're trying to show off for your kid and be better than he is at it. I don't know what the reason is, but
get there to be better than him. He's already even just now. Look at him. He's already outshining me.
I'm really glad that you're in theater. I think it's a way to show people that I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. That's so basically there's just some people out there that are like, I'm not going to do theater. I'm a manly man or whatever. So I mean, obviously
that's where I came from. That
yes,
right.
And then it just slowly started to turn to, hey, it's not so bad,
Yeah, well, yeah, and also you started looking at it from a perspective of, okay, I love music. This is music.
Yeah.
I love storytelling,
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems to me if the music is good and the story is good, you don't care if it's a musical theater show. You're going to be a part of it.
I mean, I listened to the SpongeBob musical on the way to Kingman the other day for work, and I was like, oh.
The music's actually really pretty good.
And I don't really, I'm not a big fan of SpongeBob, the cartoon, so I was like, all right. I was willing to put it aside for the movie. Actually, when he was younger, we went to go watch the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I can't stand SpongeBob.
So now that you're into it, now that you've listened to shows, are there any shows that you're like, I really want to do that role or just that
or just
show?
a show?
Yeah. So one of the shows that Heidi recommended was Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and I was like, dude, you know how cool it would be?
Had you seen the movie before?
No, I didn't even know it was a movie. I thought it was just a musical.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you should also watch
So,
the movie.
but just, the story's cool.
So good.
So I was like, how cool would it be, if
Father.
obviously once he's older, I mean, he can't do it right now, I think. But how cool would it be, to play father and son in the show as well? I think it'd be cool,
I think it'd be cool. I love that show. We should do that show sometime.
But then also, individually, I would love to play Mr. Schneebly in School of Rock.
Yes, School of Rock.
I would love to do that.
Wow.
But I don't know if I can do it now because I look older, or I don't know.
Yeah, man. Just some hair coloring and
Age doesn't matter that much in theater. We take a lot of,
Yeah, and I see you in that tap class, dude. I see you picking up them steps.
He's taking it very seriously.
Yes.
I even try. I even show up half hour.
He does. He comes early.
And Allie will give me a one-on-one for 15, 20 minutes. And then just because, I'm not. I used to play drums when I was younger, so I was like,
Oh, so you've got rhythm.
I'll pick up tap, no problem. And then I think it was like the flaps is like the first thing we learned. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, well, and the thing is with tap, they teach you these steps broken down and slow, and I mean, to me, it's like, what are they doing? I don't even know the steps they're doing until they do it fast, and I'm like, oh, they're okay, because I just recognize the rhythm.
Yeah, and then like I said, going back to Jon Snow, like I know nothing of tap.
Yeah,
I just know what it sounds like and what it's supposed to sound like, and then I just try to mimic it.
you're Jon Snow, and this is the Night Watch.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that you're willing to learn, though. You're willing to learn tap. You're willing to listen to any show that's suggested to you, whether you like it or not.
And I don't think once Nathaniel's done that you're going to be done. I think you're
never leaving.
because this is it's a family,
Yeah. No, yeah, and it like goes back to like I think it was mentioned just about every episode so far is the theater needs guys,
Yeah.
right? And so like
Always.
And
I
so-
don't think that's just our town either. It's everywhere,
so like mine and Heidi's like first time hanging out,
Conversation.
right? Was me telling her, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing In the Heights. And she's like, oh, you're a guy? She's like, oh yeah.
You're in. Don't
Even worry about
Yeah,
it. She's like,
you're
you're
in.
in. She's like, don't even worry about it.
I wasn't
She's like,
wrong.
You're already gonna be in.
Yeah, Nathaniel's got some stiffer competition in his age group, I think. There's more guys involved.
younger. Yeah.
Harrison's a force to be reckoned with right now. I think. But so are you, though. You both are emerging into I think entertaining performers. Like I enjoyed the dynamic in High School Musical with you and Harrison.
Yes, absolutely.
Playing opposite of Ian. It was just the whole dynamic worked out. So you guys were committed to your roles and you understood your assignments.
It is fun watching them. Like you said, the past couple of shows, like the amount of growth. Not just him, but like
All of them.
all the kids.
So much, yeah.
All the kids have grown, the more comfortable they ad lib more, throw in more, little
I mean,
little bits there, but
yeah.
yeah, it's like I said, it was a really fun show, a lot of high energy, and you can see that they were just having a blast.
Yes.
Like they weren't sweating the lines, they weren't sweating the steps.
No, they seemed very
the music,
comfortable.
and-
Yes, and the audience feeds off of that.
Yeah.
It resonates with them when you guys are committed. If
And then
you're
I
having
didn't
fun,
know
they're having
Ava
fun.
could sing the way that she sung. I was like, oh my God. I was like, check
Oh,
it out.
Ava?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, just out there
Ava,
making the
I
sound.
feel like
Yes.
that was a great opportunity for Ava. She was given this chance to step up and go, okay, this is your chance to prove that you're ready to step up and do some bigger
And she
stuff.
did, and she-
Oh, she did.
And she did.
Out of
She
water.
she proved herself, and she came in like she had something to prove, and she did. So I was very impressed with her performance.
No, yeah, and it's great. Like, so Nathaniel started it off with Lion King,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then my niece got involved in the Little Mermaid workshop, and she played Ursula.
Was that last year?
Was it? No, it was a couple
No, it was a
years ago.
couple years ago. Little
okay.
Mermaid.
2 years.
And I remember her coming
3
over
years
to
ago?
our house, and then her and my wife would work on lines and work on songs. And
Mm-hmm.
she was like super embarrassed about it at first, and they would kick me out of the living room
Oh,
so that they could go over stuff. And then watching her on stage was just completely blown away. Like she owned it. Like she became Ursula.
Yes, and it's one thing when you're
It was
watching
awesome.
them
Yeah.
rehearse in the living room or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you see under the stage lights, the makeup, especially Ursula, is that costume is commanding in
Yes.
itself.
Yeah.
and she was amazing in that role. You're talking about Sam, by the way, Samantha
Yeah.
Reed. Just for our listeners,
Oh yeah, Samantha Reed.
just in case they didn't know, that's who your
In case
niece
they
is.
didn't know.
Yeah, she was a great Ursula.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, the year after that was Susical workshop.
Yes.
And my nephew Zach was the
Vulture.
Vlad,
Vlad
right?
Vlad
Vladikov.
Vladikov. This is
Yeah.
the kid who played the Velvet Fog, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
the Velvet Fog.
And so,
Zach.
and so,
Oh
like
my
at
God.
first, like you could tell, like he was super shy, super,
It didn't seem like it.
And in Susical, and
He
then-
was at first,
and at first,
and
like,
not-
like
yeah.
he did, he had like one word, one line or whatever, and he like
Mm-hmm.
comes out and he flaps and he says something and he takes off.
Yep.
And I went out of my way to cheer so loud for him, just to to get him to feel like right. And then the second show and the show after that, dude, he went up there like no problem, said his line and
Right.
owned it. and then seeing him in High School Musical.
Dude, that kid was
I was
stealing
like,
the stage in High School Musical.
Yeah.
As
I
the
was
Velvet Fog.
crying
So
every
funny.
time he was done. It
Hey,
so
that
hilarious.
was Nolan's favorite part of the show.
Right.
He quoted him before the show started. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, wait, Dad, just wait.
Sweet. Velvet Fog.
It was
Yes.
so funny.
I know. It's amazing to, especially with the kids, to get to see their growth.
Yeah.
Right.
And really the three kids, they're the reason why I wanted to do it in the first place.
Aw.
You know, just to be able to do it with them, you know. And so, you know, I think Peter Pan was the one where all three of us were in it, but Nathaniel was the only one with me the whole time. And so anytime Sam was on, we were running around, and then anytime Zach was on, I think we were like chasing him away or
Yeah, it's interesting
we weren't on there together.
Yeah, we have very
Yeah.
different characters.
Yeah, with shows like that, and you're like, oh yeah, I did a show with them, but I
Never saw them.
I did shows for years with Chris Rydell, 2 or 3 years before him and I actually were on stage at the same time. But we
Right.
were in a lot of shows together, but literally never at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's funny how that works out. And then you do get that show where you're together, and like with Peter Pan, you know, we were side by side like the whole time.
Yeah,
So it was fun. But then like the Spamalot, right? Is that the one
that's
potentially?
that's
Yeah.
we're all being
potential
together?
for the
Potentially.
spring season. Spam-a-lot, which I understand is a lot of tap dancing. So
And that's why
It does.
That's why I'm
that's
doing
why you're
that.
Nathaniel. Do you have tap under your belt?
Yeah.
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 How-
Yeah, he tried showing me before. Like Newsies
Before
was
club.
what did it for me.
Oh, okay.
You know, I've loved Newsies, all the tapping Newsies, and then he had his little solo on the table, and,
Oh, yeah,
and it
yeah.
was cool. And I was like, dude, I'm
And
buying.
you're like, my son can't be cooler than me now.
I'm not doing that.
I'm buying tap shoes, and I bought tap shoes, and I put them on to make sure they fit. And then he like tried teaching me.
I couldn't
He
do
tried
it.
teaching me, and then he's like, nah, you're on your own. And I
Yeah, you're impossible
was like,
there.
all right, I'll just put them back in the closet. And
Go see Allie.
I get that. I feel that.
no, yeah, it was,
That's
and then I
cool.
tried watching like YouTube videos too, and I was like,
It's not the
this
same.
is not.
It's not, no. So you're obviously anticipating auditioning for the future
Yes.
shows. You're
So-
even training yourself for
Yeah.
the future.
So I think it's safe to say we can see you in many upcoming productions.
Ivan Gomez in.
What I think is cute is like at the last auditions, he had already done his first show ever in the Heights, and then he came back to auditions, and I saw him there, and he's like, "I only want to do this one show," and I said, "Okay." That's
She laughed
cute.
exactly
I
like
laughed.
that. She laughed.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, well, you're also gonna, you're gonna be in
that like
more than
pr-
one." He's
uh,
like, "No, I'm only putting this one on my sheet." I was like,
Yeah, that's
Cool.
funny. It's like Pringles,
So
bro.
cute.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Just accept it and come to auditions.
"So we'll see you in the fall at auditions
Yes.
and the spring.
So Nathaniel, do you get to step up into the big league auditions? How old do you have to be
You have to be in
those?
high school,
You have to be in high school. It's not an age thing. It's a
high school to adult.
okay.
And sometimes they make allowances depending on the shows, but
Right.
it's yeah."
Well, and usually even then they have like separate auditions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to see Nathaniel sitting next to me with a number on.
We don't do that.
We did that for the
That's why I'm not going to see that.
Okay. Doesn't mean we won't see you in the fall show because I feel like you are one that's going to be
No, they hold special auditions for Nathaniel.
just for Nathaniel.
Just for
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
He's cool like that.
and it's cool too, like hearing other people talk about Nathaniel. Like I think Chris was the one that does it the most. Like, he's like, your kid's amazing. He's well mannered, real respectful. And I'm like, we talk about the same kid? You sure?
Are you sure?
And then Bill and Lauren will talk about how much he blew up, right? Lauren
Right.
calls it a glow up.
Dude.
And just
Dude,
just
yeah.
recently-
Yeah, for real, man. It's like
yeah, haircut and contacts. That's all. That's all that happened.
Well,
like I don't know what
Another,
happened
like,
out of
what?
nowhere, dude. You just kind of came up. How does it make you feel? Nervous? Do you feel like there's expectations on you?
Yeah. Like,
You crying? It's too much. You're right.
just kidding. Yeah. Like, a little nervous. It's a lot.
So what gets me is that I reflect a lot on my own life and trials and tribulations. I think a lot of us do for character choices and development and all that stuff. You seem to have a pretty great childhood. Just judging by I know your parents,
We tried.
so you don't seem to have any struggles in your life. So where do you pull from if you have to do a scene where you're angry or hurt or anything? Where do you pull that from? How do you get into a mindset?
I just wing it.
Just wing it.
Yep.
I feel like that's true.
We all have our stuff. We all have our methods. That's great. Well, I think what I've been noticing is your comedic timing is the thing that's really. I don't
Yes.
think you've really been given the opportunity to express a wide range of emotions. You've definitely had roles where you've had been the comic relief and you've been able to kind of joke around and have your playful side show a little bit more. And I honestly think your comedic timing is great. I think you're hilarious. I love laughing out loud at the theater. I don't feel like I do it that often, but I know that you've made me do that before.
One of my favorite things was in Peter Pan, and it was just such a little bit. But when you pushed the cake out onto stage, was that you? And then Ivan did. Were you the one pulling his feet?
Didn't it
Peter
happen so fast?
Some people never even saw
That's
it,
because it happened so fast.
and it's one of my favorite bits. The look on his face.
Blink and you'll miss it. I feel like there was
Oh,
a thud,
absolutely.
and I looked over and there's Nathaniel.
A
With
lot.
a
Of, they're like,
cake.
"What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "You didn't see the cake. The cake."
Where did the cake come
And then you were the one pulling his leg.
Yes. So
Me
in
and Marcella.
rehearsal,
Me and
it's
Marcella.
really funny because in rehearsal in the studio, you
Yeah.
see everything.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there by the music, and I see Ivan just throwing Nathaniel and pulling his feet back, and then I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting when we see it on stage.
Like
and
he's tossing a net, but
Yes.
it's Nathaniel.
And I feel bad. Like one of the times he was like too far to the left, and when we yanked him back,
Oh, I
he
hit my
like
head.
hit
the
something.
wall.
He hit the
Oh.
wall, and I was like, "Oh my god, dude, you all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's playing it off like you could tell it hurt him, but
such a
played it
funny
off.
bit.
But yeah, and that was one of our notes actually was to try to do it a little slower.
Yeah.
Right.
But like
People missed it.
Yeah, and if like we do it too slow, like I feel like the curtain, like
Yeah, that's one of those
It'll
fine
ruin
line
the magic.
things where
Yeah.
because the timing, like in that instance, I feel like the quickness of it is the comedy.
That's what's funny. Yeah,
That's
but there's
what's funny is
it's
how
not the only
fast.
thing. There's a whole other scene happening when that
Yes.
happens.
Well, your
Peter and the
attention's-
Lost Boys are all like dancing around, and then all of a sudden
It's literally during a song. That's
it is
right.
during a song. Yeah. I had to wait. I knew when it was. I was standing up there
Yeah.
the whole time watching it. And so I would be prepared to just at that time in the song look to watch Nathaniel come out with a cake because I think it's so funny.
Gosh, I loved that mustache. It was my favorite. You were my favorite pirate just because of your look.
Oh my God.
You had a vibe, dude.
The pirates overall, so funny.
Yes.
So most important final question. If you could listen, we'll start with you, Ivan.
me.
Yeah.
Yes. Starting with you this time.
We're going to start with you this time. We're switching it up.
We're the hosts. We get to decide.
Yeah.
That's fair.
If you could listen to only
In the Heights.
one.
Okay. He already knows the question. He's an avid listener of this
Oh, that's
podcast.
Well,
So the question for newcomers was going to be, what would you listen
Wow.
to if you can only choose one cast album? What
For the
would
rest
it
of your
be?
life.
For the rest of your life. Gosh, Ivan, we're trying to make this episode longer.
In the Heights.
he's thought about this.
Final answer.
So, okay. So it would be In the Heights for the rest of your life. And why?
Well, other than it being my first show, like I said, the movie was just, I was blown away by the movie, the story, the music, the lyrics, the story that it told. And then, it's got a little bit of everything, it's, the opening number is probably the best one, in my opinion, because you got all the characters come out, from Usnavi starting it off to everybody slowly coming out, with their little bits. And then, the stage or the song ends with, everybody hitting that last note together, And then, it's got your little bit of comedy. It's got your little bit of, slow and sad. And then your romance. And, it's got a little bit of everything. And so I could do it.
Takes you on that emotional roller
Yeah.
coaster that every good show, I think, has.
Okay. Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah.
Well prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, well-rehearsed answer. Interesting how quick you were with that one.
Okay. Nathaniel, same question.
So I'm not very quick with this one, but I just have so many musicals that I love. But
That's fair.
for now, it is either SpongeBob or Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Okay.
Okay.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid is just hilarious, and all the music is fire. And same thing with
Okay.
SpongeBob. That's that fast paced rapping. I'm okay with sad songs. They just get boring. I just want.
Okay. You like a more upbeat show.
That's because you've had a charmed life and you don't understand now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you like a happy, upbeat show.
No, and that's cool, and
Yeah.
that totally reflects who you are, and I think
Absolutely.
that's great. I don't think you should ever lose what you have within you, which is this: you provide such a joy at the theater, you could tell you're loving it every time you're doing it, and the audience feels the same way. They feed off of you. So and I think that's why watching you is so fun, because you're genuinely having
Right.
fun.
You can tell you're having a great time.
Yeah. So Diary of a Wimpy Kid is the next show.
junior show,
Next junior
yeah.
show coming up. So you're auditioning for that.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I either want Greg, or if there is a little, little Indian kid in the movie, he's like, "Good God, man, you almost got the cheese touch." I really want that kid.
Okay. I love that.
I don't.
Sometimes there's just a line in a show by some offbeat character where
Yeah.
you're like, I want that role just for
Just
that
to
line.
say that line. Oh, I absolutely.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being on and representing the father-son dynamic and the importance of getting over the, I guess, stereotypes and things of theater that people maybe are reluctant to join theater and stuff, and
Right.
you got tough, manly men who are like, oh, I don't want to do theater, but I think that's...
And then, I mean, like, you see me on the street and you're like, that guy doesn't do theater. Like, I remember Marcelo talking about it when we were at the restaurant. And he's all talk about how the first time he see me, like, I rolled up in my motorcycle for first music rehearsal. And he's like, who's that guy? Like, coming up on Harley.
Who's that?
That's
guy?
Kevin Rosario.
And so like stuff, stuff like that. So it's,
That's awesome.
you look at me like I said, they don't think that I can do what I can.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, hold on, let me get my tap shoes real quick.
Hold on. Let me show you. Let me show you a time step.
Nice. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the Missed Queue.
Yes. Thank you for coming.
Yes, and as all of you know, there is no excuse for a missed or late queue. We'll see you next time.
Bye.